Alright, so, from the looks of it, this looks pretty much like any time I've ever used cinnamon, honestly. But as you can see from the logo here, there's like some triangle thing here. And if we go to administration, we can see we have PAMAC. So this is arched base. So why did I get rid of Manjaro? Well, the community variations suck ass. Let me just point that out right away. Hang on a second. I gotta put in my password. Third party. So the flatback and snap thing, not available unless you use the main ones, which I think is XFCE, KDE, and GNOME. If you use any of the third-party ones like Cinnamon, you ain't getting the flatback and snap and PAMAC on Manjaro. The other problem I had with Manjaro was if you do use the Community Edition, this is why I ended up switching to XFCE, even though I don't like it as much as Cinnamon. It's not nearly as stable as it should be. I had constant issues where LightDM would just fucking crash. So yeah, I'm just not going to put up with something that's unstable and not working the way I need it to work. So I went back to Linux Mint for a time to try to figure out what the fuck to do. And I ended up finding Endeavour OS. Now, there is one issue with Endeavour OS, which was also an issue with pretty much every Arch-based. The biggest problems I have with Arch-based, and this is no different than Endeavour, I have to flash the ISO to a DVD, like a DVD-R or RW. Otherwise, the file system doesn't fucking exist and it won't boot, so I can't install shit. Other than that, the only other issue with Arch is Bluetooth does not work at all. I can, on Manjaro and even Endeavour, I can easily get my Bluetooth headphones connected. But then going forward, like if I turn off my computer today and go to use it tomorrow, I'm going to have to restart the computer 10 times, unpair and repair my fucking headphones, and hope how it works. It's just constantly not fucking working. Excuse me. Now, Endeavour disables Bluetooth out of the box, so even if I went in here and I turn this on, Bluetooth won't work because it's completely disconnected. There's a lot of shit you have to install. It's a few lines. They put it on their page. It's not that big a deal. Unlike Artix, which was a huge pain in my ass. But yeah, it suffers the same issue. Even if you get it working, it doesn't work properly because Arch. Which is fine. What I ended up doing was decided to get off my lazy ass. And I went and bought a 4-foot aux cable for my headphones. So I can use my headphones wired. So if we go to system info, which this didn't work on Artix, but it did on Manjaro, so I think the problem might be lack of system D for this. I don't know. Artix doesn't have system D. It's one of the Arch distros I tried. But as you can see here, we're on Cinnamon 5.0. We have the 5.12 kernel, 5.12.13. I have more RAM now. I don't know if I mentioned that the last time. I don't think I did. I bought a 32 gig stick of RAM. It's supposed to run at 3200. It's not. It's running at 2667. So my 8 gig stick that came with this laptop that does run at 3200 is now running at 2667. I don't know fucking why. I couldn't tell you. So if we go to CPU-X and we'll put on our password so we can run it as root. We go to memory here. We can see that this is the 3200 stick that came with it, the Samsung, and then unknown team group is running at 2667. Unknown team group, that's actually using SK Hynix RAM. It's funny that it can't detect it. Another way you can check your RAM, hang on a second, I'm doing something on my phone real quick. There is... there it is. Alright, so if we hit Control-Alt-T, you do sudo DMI decode -- type space 17. Then we put in our password. Oh, it's not installed. Weird. Alright, so sudo pacman -s DMI. I spelled that right. Alright. There we go. And that'll, as you can see, tell you what your RAM is. It's a fun command. So, DMI decode and space -- type space 17. So it'll tell you all about your RAM. It's just a fun command. If we do neofetch, there we go. So yeah, this is Endeavour OS. Pretty nice. So the reason why I don't really like XFCE too much is by default this type of taskbar isn't installed, and it can be actually a pain in the ass to install it if you're not on Arch or Ubuntu. So the this is the dock-like plugin. That's the one you want to get the icons-only taskbar on XFCE. On anything other than Arch or Ubuntu, it's a pain in the ass. You have to install like 50 fucking programs. I don't recommend it. But I have Comic Sans as my font. One difference I have noticed from installing Microsoft's core fonts on Arch versus Ubuntu is on Ubuntu, you have to accept the user license agreement. That's not the case with Arch, which I really enjoy not accepting user license agreements from Manjaro. I mean, not Manjaro, from Microsoft. So, same thing I had with Linux Mint. Papyrus, and then to get the folders a different color, you use the code, not code, command -C, and then you can do different colors. So I do black, so that would be the command to get them black. Then you just hit enter. But there's different colors you can do. I'll show that off in a second. But if you go to privacy, as you can see, I have this turned off, and this one especially, remember recently accessed files. In XFCE, you can't just go into settings and click that button. You have to go into an INI file, which is kind of a pain in the fucking ass. So for those of you who aren't aware, Papyrus folders. Also, new Firefox sucks. I had to add the home button here. And also, it's using DNS over HTTP, or what, I don't fucking know what the fuck it is off the top of my head. But it routes everything through fucking Cloudflare, which can eat shit. I had to turn that off by default. That's a pain in the ass. So if you use the Papyrus icon theme, which is what I use here, it's this icon theme. It looks pretty cool. It's kind of cartoonish, but I kind of like it. It's a really nice icon theme. I think Papyrus actually is the best icon theme. But as you can see, there is a ton of things you can do for Papyrus folders. So you have Yaru, Violet, Red, Magenta, and all these things. So yeah, I highly recommend you use the Papyrus icon theme and Papyrus folders. It's rather easy to install, so with Ubuntu you can just add the PPA. Anything else you can use wget. Third-party packages, if you're on any of these, you can just go ahead and install it. It's in the AUR, so that's cool. Yeah, that's pretty much Endeavour OS. I mean, it's no different than Linux Mint, really, when you look at it GUI-wise, because it's Cinnamon. Cinnamon Desktop's going to be Cinnamon Desktop no matter where you are. It's what's under the hood that is different, and Arch is just a better base than Ubuntu for me. I do like the package options a lot better than what really anything provides. This is for the YouTube DL, so you don't have to use the terminal. It's a flat pack, so I have actually used this a couple times. But at the end of the day, you know, I switched to Arch because I don't like the direction Ubuntu's going. And Linux Mint just has not really any major issues with stability or anything, but it's always little things where, you know, something's not working and I need it to work, or a package isn't running the way it should. It's never anything major with, like, the OS. The other big thing with Linux Mint that I started to hate was the thumbnails weren't working in the file manager, and I did everything to get that fixed, and it just didn't fucking work. So, you know, at the end of the day, my thumbnails, everything works the way it should on Endeavour. I have the latest kernel, which is a big thing for me. I like to be on the latest and greatest stable kernel. just because added features and whatnot. And I think Endeavour is just a better variation of Arch than Manjaro, honestly. It's not that I hate Manjaro, it's I just don't like the third-party variations. They're not very stable. There's a lot of things that don't work the same way, like I pointed out with Pamac, as the official. Whereas if you go to, say, Fedora, the spins work exactly the same as the mainline GNOME version, which is the way it should be. In Endeavour, it's very easy to just install the ISO with the desktop environment you want. Just install the ISO, go to, when you start the installer, go to online, not offline, because if you do offline, you're going to get XFCE, and then when you go through the installer, it's going to be kind of like Debian, where you get to pick your desktop environment. And the biggest thing, for me anyways, is, and I've only noticed this on maybe Sparky Linux, is I can install it with no swap. If you have more than 8 gigs of RAM, you don't need swap. So I have my swap turned off. There is no swap partition. And even recording and whatnot, I'm barely using any RAM right now. So it's a great distro. Cinnamon is my favorite desktop environment. But at the end of the day, you know, I need something that's got the latest kernel. I needed something with packages that weren't completely out of date like Debian. I needed something that could boot on this laptop because of the hardware, so Debian was out of the question, with the exception of things like advanced hardware support, MX Linux, and Sparky Linux, because the kernels are actually newer. I think 5.8 is the one around that. But I just, honestly, I like Arch better. It works for what I need it to. It's just a matter of finding the right Arch distro, and I think I found it in Endeavour. So I'm gonna end the video here, and I'll see you guys next week, or whenever I get around to making another video. And if you're looking for a good Arch-based